Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. My name is Kelsey Wolf, and today's video I want to talk to you guys about this myth that's going on, especially in the spiritual community, around this idea of having to be healed or on a healing journey of some sort in order to actually find and attract your forever love. I've been seeing a lot of videos circulating social media over the course of even the last year, talking about, having to be on your own and doing a lot of inner work and inner reflection and looking at your own wounds and shadows, and having all of this awareness and all of these things before you can actually find and attract your soulmate, that person that you're going to want to be with for the rest of your life. And ideally, that person is doing the same thing as well. And as much as that can be true, right? Having an awareness of your shadows, of your traumas, of the things that you're triggered over, the things that are being mirrored to you, having an idea of what you're actually looking for and wanting from a partner. So having an opportunity to be by yourself, right? So that you don't have a relationship that's overly attached or trauma bonding or any of these things. That it makes sense, and I get that. But I want to share how it's not that black and white. Life throws curveballs. And the reason why I want to speak to this is because my partner and I had just celebrated our 7th year together. This summer is our 8th summer together. Our next upcoming Christmas is going to be our 8th Christmas together. So we've been together for quite some time at this point. And when we found each other, I was not even on my spiritual journey at this point. I was still an addict and addicted to alcohol and drugs, and he was just in recovery from his addiction to drugs and alcohol. And yet we found each other and it was perfect. We found each other, we started seeing each other, within a week you could tell that there was something very special between us that was going on. We moved in together within 3 months. That wasn't necessarily planned. It had to do with outer circumstances, but still, nonetheless, we moved in together and we've built this beautiful life, this beautiful relationship between him and I. And as I stated, I was nowhere near healing myself. Like that all started to happen within our relationship. Same with him. He, yes, started his recovery and everything, but to start really going inward and to start, realistically becoming a better person, that did not happen until we were already in a relationship with each other and had that safety of our love and support for one another. So I really just want to debunk that whole idea, that whole premise, that you need to be on all of these things, you need to be on your journey, and then it's on that journey that you're going to find your soulmate. Like, him and I found each other when we weren't looking for each other. We both were not interested in a relationship at the time. We weren't looking for any sort of relationship at the time. And when we saw each other, it just clicked. And we both just kind of went with the flow of what was feeling good for us at the time without any expectations around what was going on. It took a whole 30 days, and now we saw each other every single day. As soon as May 30th, 2018 rolled around and we went on our first date together, we saw each other every single day. Every single day we would see each other at some point, and at least for a few hours. And it still took a full month and a bit for me to be like, so are we going to make this official kind of thing? And he was like, are we not already? So, and then shortly after that, we said, I love you. And it all went with the flow that was given to us at the time and with what felt good. So yes, having an idea of what you want within a partner. So you have an idea, right? Like, I know for me, going into a relationship with a man, if I was going to do this again, I wanted a man who was my equal, who was my partner, who supported me, who made things that I didn't even know I wanted in a relationship. I discovered I wanted in a relationship by being in a relationship with him. So that's another thing too. Don't be surprised, and don't be closed off to the things that are being shown to you, that are feeling good for you in the moment. As I stated, him and I weren't expecting anything from this. We just went with the flow and went with what felt good. And 7 years later, we're still happy as hell with one another. We're still just as passionate, if not more passionate with each other than we were ever before. There's still so much love and support for one another. And if anything, it's our relationship that's actually the strongest, most consistent, safe, precious thing that we have. As I went through the last 3 years, going through and I'm still like working through it now. I'm going through therapy, going through some really next level challenges within my work and career and public life. And then the last 2 years for him has been the hardest years of his life, also having to do with work and like life purpose. But it's our relationship that has stayed consistent, that has stayed stable, that gives us a sense of safety and a sense of home that we can come to. And this relationship did not have that I'm healed, I know my inner demons and shadows, and he knows his. Like, we did not start off that way. That started to happen because of the fact he felt safe with me, I felt safe with him. Don't get me wrong, we've had our, miscommunications, definitely, right? And those miscommunications cause hurt feelings and arguments and things. That for sure has happened within our relationship in the 7 years that we've been together, but it's also been so few in between, like so few in our whole entire relationship. So I just really want to put this out there, that's not a necessity. I don't want people to be closed off from any possibility that the universe could be showing you at any given moment because of X, Y, and Z. Okay? Same with like the standards and things that you're not settling for. I want that to be something that's fluid. Now, of course, there should be some non-negotiables, and I would say those non-negotiables is communication, safety, communication, or at least the willingness. Okay, him and I were not great at communicating when we first started. We're both hotheads, so it hasn't always been great. It's definitely gotten better over the years and as we've gotten to know each other. But the fact that we've both been loyal, we've both been unconditionally supportive of one another, we've both have been given each other a safe place to land and to begin kind of that inner search, expression, authenticity. And I think that is some of the most important things to have in a relationship: respect for one another, loyalty, support, and safety. And then ultimately, yes, communication, but understanding that can also grow and flourish as time moves on and as you get to know each other and like live your life with each other. So just being aware of ways that you're potentially limiting yourself and your future partner by having certain ideals and expectations that you may think are important to you at the time, but truthfully aren't a core value. I think that's the bigger term that we need to use here, where you have your kind of ideals, but then you have your core values, right? Like, I know once upon a time I wanted that 6 foot, kind of broad man who really took the lead and was very confident in what he does and very outdoorsy and adventurous. And like, that's all great, but it's not a core value. I've had those types of men before, but they didn't have the respect in women, so therefore me, that turned out to be even more important than the fact that they were 6 feet tall, because I'm 5'6". So you know what I mean? I like to have a few inches there. And now I'm with a man who's 5'7". Okay. He loves his video games because that's one of the ways that he decompresses. We both love nature. It's actually something that we bonded over for sure. But he's a little bit more reserved and wants to be logical and take slow, steady steps, whereas I'm like, bam, spontaneous, all of these things. And that's what I thought I wanted in a man, but it turned out I enjoy the fact that he's consistent and patient and kind of more slow, because I can be so fast sometimes with my decisions and the things that I'm doing that it blows up in my face. Now, it's funny because sometimes he's so slow and patient that it blows up in his face. So we have this good counterbalance with each other. But the point that I'm making here, right, is watch out how you're limiting yourself and your potential partner. Recognize what your core values are, and those core values should not be based on, I want to say personality traits, but I guess being loyal and trustworthy and respectful of humans and things could be seen as personality traits. But I would almost consider those core values that they embody within themselves. Does that make sense? So like, don't limit yourself or your partner based on looks, based on silly things that could very well be changed throughout the course of life, right? Like, that's the other part of this too, is that you very well could be in a relationship like mine where, you know, at the beginning, you're not healed. You're not on this healing journey. You're kind of just living life in limbo, not really knowing what the fuck is going on. And same with your partner. But then you come to this place where you're then safe to really start going inward and figuring out more of who you are. I am very different in a lot of ways at 32 than I was at 25. I wasn't this spiritual. I wasn't this woo-woo. I didn't pray. I didn't I wasn't as in tune with nature back then because I was very numb to life at the time. And these are all things that have kind of come to be as him and I have grown together, and as I have been able to really dig deep into my authentic self and my self-expression, and he's simply just been there for the ride. And he's accepted me through each and every stage of me going through this journey. So that's kind of the other thing that we all need to recognize too, right? Is that we will change, we will grow, we will evolve, so will our partners. So core values versus things that very well could change and grow and evolve within our partners in the future, and as you guys get to build your lives together. And then last but not least, I want to remind people, because our generation in society seems to be like, the pendulum has swung so drastically to the other side, whereas like before, our ancestors, our grandparents, everyone, if they got married, if they got together, and if they had kids, like that was that. There's no such thing as divorce. You don't leave. You just stick it out, even though you don't love each other anymore, even though there's bullshit all the time, yada, yada, yada. There's that. And now we've just like swung the whole other opposite direction. It's like, as soon as shit gets hard, they're not being who I need them to be. So they're not changing quick enough, or like whatever the case may be. So like, peace, I'm out. Y'all, your relationship's not going to last more than 3 years if that's going to be your mindset. Life is going to throw curveballs at you and your partner, and you have to recognize that there is going to be challenges just as much as there's going to be beauty and amazingness and love. There's going to be times where, you know, there might be stress or mental health issues or loss, grief, shame, things that like the other person has to work through. Like I stated before, the last 3 years for me has not been easy, and it's been outside of our relationship that these things are occurring, but you bet your ass, because it's affecting me, it's affecting how I show up in the relationship. Same with him. So there's been times where it's been hard and it's been challenging, and we've had to take our time with one another. We've had to communicate with one another. I've had to, you know, kind of put things off to the side because they weren't just possible at this moment of time, but I'm not going to leave him. Because of that, I recognize that these things will change as we start to figure shit out. Life has its ebbs and its flows, and if you cannot accept that there will be. It's inevitable. Even my grandparents, I emulate their relationship so much. She was 16, he was 19 when they first started dating. They dated for 4 years, then got married, and they spent the next until he was 90, almost 90 years old, and she was 88, together. And they were so in love. So in love. They would always be dancing in the kitchen, spending time together. They also like teased each other and like poked a little bit of fun and had some cute banter that went on. But I've heard stories by both of them of times of struggle, of arguments, of fights that went way too far. And that happens too, where our emotions might overcome and things might be said, things might be done, and it's going to take time to communicate about that and work on that and like forgive the whole situation. But that's what happens, and that's what needs to happen in order to have a strong, healthy relationship. It doesn't just happen like instantly. That won't happen. That doesn't make sense. Life is going to throw curveballs at you that you would never, ever be able to expect or control in any way, shape, or form, and neither can they. So remembering that if you want to have a lifelong partnership and union with someone, that it's not going to be all rainbows and butterflies the entire time. And it does matter that I think the main thing here again is love, support, safety, and communication. Even if it's communicating about it with yourself, like I recognize that this is happening and here's how I feel about it. If these are things you can self-reflect on, right? Like this is happening in our lives, in our relationship, and it's affecting me in this way, so that you take ownership, you take responsibility in the way that you can show up and communicate it to them when needed and when necessary. And vice versa for your partner. That's something that can be talked about and brought up, and ideally with a mature person who is just as committed and dedicated as you are. That won't be a problem. They might be a little defensive and maybe even offended at first because they're like, whoa, why are you coming at me, bro? But in the end, what matters is that you come back together with honesty, integrity, love, support, and safety. Like, I can't stress that enough, that that's the one thing that I'm so goddamn blessed about with this relationship, is the amount of safety that he has put in and has shown me. Like, thank God. Because I've been through so much in the past that it's really closed me off entirely, and I was not my full self when he first fell in love with me. And now he falls more and more in love with me each day as I continue to open up and grow. And it's because of him giving me a sense of safety. And so what does that mean? What does that look like? He's consistent. He tells me every single day, multiple times a day, how much he loves me and how grateful he is for me and our relationship. Anytime I've said no, he's respected that and not made me feel shame or guilt. He lets me feel how I feel without making me feel bad about it. He gives me space. He allows me to be who I am without shame and just love. And he always holds my hand. He always gives me kisses and hugs and cuddles. He will always rub my back. And he just shows me physically and emotionally that he's there consistently for the last 7 years. And that has cultivated safety within me and our relationship. So I hope with this video and with me sharing a little bit about my story and my relationship, my partner hates being on video and is not a big fan of social media, so the chances of you actually seeing him is pretty slim, as I respect that. But I hope that this video and I hope that this message lands, that it gives you a little bit of a, okay, just let me live my life, be in flow, and be open to whatever happens. I don't have to be doing all of these things in order to attract my forever person. Now, if you liked this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me and my channel. And go ahead over onto all of my socials. I got Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok, just to name a few, at Luna Wolf Healing, so that we can stay in touch. And if you are open to having any types of sessions with me, I do one-to-one mentorship, I do Reiki sessions and energy healing sessions, also channeled readings and messages, also astrology readings. All of that can be found on my website, www.lunawolfhealing.com. And yeah, that is it for me today. I love you all, and I hope you have a fantastic day.